Hi, I'm Danielle and welcome to my perfume journal. Every month on my channel, I share my impressions of the perfumes I've been sampling over the course of the month, and this video is going to be about the perfumes I sampled in the month of February. So last year I came to the realization that I was oversampling. I was amassing like huge quantities of samples because I felt like I wanted to smell everything, and there are so many amazing perfumes out there. As a perfume lover, I felt like I just wanted to smell as many as I could. But at some point, I realized that I was kind of like oversaturating myself with samples. I wasn't like studying them like I used to. I was just like blowing through them to get to the next sample. And so I decided to slow down, stop buying samples, and really just spend time exploring the samples that I had collected already. And you know what? It was so much better for me. I now keep notes about what I'm sampling in my perfume journal. I go back to my samples, I go back to my notes, and I just feel like I'm expanding my nose just as effectively, even more so this way than the way that I was by sampling as much as possible. And here is my perfume sample log for February, where I track what I've sampled, what kind of perfume it was, what family of scent it belongs to, a broad rating of the perfume, and whether I might want to put it on my wish list or not. And so far this year, I actually haven't worn any of my samples enough to decide if something is actually going on the wish list. That's another thing that was getting ridiculously long, because as I was sampling so much, I was like haphazardly adding perfumes to the wish list that I hadn't even worn. So now if a perfume is going to cost more than $50, I wear the sample at least 3 times before I decide if it's going to go on the wish list. And here is my perfume journal page for February with my sampling notes and my little loaf cat stickers keeping me company. So now I will tell you about the 9 perfumes I sampled during the month, what I thought about them, and whether they ended up in my bowl of samples to keep wearing, or if they moved on over to my sample declutter pile. So first up, we have Frida from Immortal Perfumes. Before I go into the perfume, if you do not follow Jen from Immortal on any of her socials, I totally recommend it. She is not only a perfumer and a true perfume enthusiast, she is like a bona fide perfume historian. She is a community builder. She is such a cool person. I just love Jen, and so I was super excited to try this perfume of hers. It's an homage to the artist Frida Kahlo. So the notes here are black jasmine, musk, cactus, tonka bean, black leather, vanilla bourbon, smoked sandalwood, and black orchid. This perfume is not only inspired by Frida herself, but there's a nod to her favorite perfume, Shalimar, in this perfume as well. I really liked this perfume on my first impression. It went straight into my keep wearing it sample bowl. This is a beautifully musky, woody floral. There's a little hint of sweetness there. I think that's that nod to Shalimar, the vanilla in the Shalimar. It feels very colorful, like Frida's paintings, and it is definitely an artistic perfume. That is one of the things I love the most about independent artisan perfumery. I thought this was a great introduction to Immortal Perfumes, and I'm definitely looking forward to smelling more of Jen's work. So next we have Ecrin de Fumée from Serge Lutens. The notes in this perfume are tobacco, rum, and cocoa. So I talked about this perfume in a previous video. This one ended up being one of my first scrubbers in a really long time. I loved this when I sampled it on the blotter. It was sweet, it was a little bit smoky, I definitely got the chocolatiness from it. So I thought, ooh, this is going to be a great bedtime scent. I do struggle though with tobacco and with boozy notes. I love them on other people, but there's something about them that just does not seem to work on me when I put them on my own self. And so for me, this was just like too rich, too thick, too sweet, too boozy, too. I think it would be great though for people who love that tobacco-y, boozy kind of scent profile. But for me, this is going over to the sample declutter pile. This is Rose Barbare from Guerlain's Art et la Matière line. So the notes in this perfume are rose, aldehydes, Turkish rose absolute, fenugreek, honey, patchouli, and something called underwood. So with notes like fenugreek and underwood, which I had to look up actually, and I had to scroll past a million search results for a certain country singer, I could find absolutely nothing about underwood. It's also not listed on Guerlain's actual website, so I'm not even sure where this came from, but it doesn't even matter because this perfume is described as an untamable and rebellious rose by the brand. But I did not get that at all from Rose Barbare. I thought it was like kind of an anemic tea rose scent. I definitely got the sparkling aldehydes in the opening, but I did not get any of the depth from the honey or the patchouli that I was hoping for. And like with all of the fantastic, beautiful rose perfumes out there, I decided this one was going to be a pass for me. I actually don't see myself ever really buying anything from the Art et la Matière collection. I've sampled several. I have yet to find one to like justify that huge price point, but I have not smelled them all yet, so don't quote me on that. But as for Rose Barbare, it's going over to the declutter bowl. Now we have Eau de la Narcisse from Fzotic. I have talked about this sample before. One spray of this, and I knew instantly that this was going straight to the must wear again bowl. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. I like want to run around in circles like a little excited puppy when I smell perfumes like this. The notes in Eau de la Narcisse are oak moss, Egyptian jasmine absolute, French orange blossom absolute, French narcissus absolute, amber, bergamot, and labdanum. I mean, come on. So you immediately get that vibe of you're smelling a vintage style sheep. It's very mossy, very green. It's got that incredible narcissus as the standout, this like intoxicating floral scent that has that perfect balance of green and sweet and just a little bit skanky. I also get hints of like some peachiness in this, which is a really nice, lovely, delicate touch. I'm not sure if that's because Bruno, the perfumer, is using absolutes or what it is about the ingredients, but it is just so well done. Modern sheeps are like one of my great weaknesses. I cut my teeth on the sheeps of the 70s and 80s, so perfumes like Eau de la Narcisse just speak to my whole heart and soul. I think this perfume is gorgeous. So a little designer sample here. We have Narciso Ambree from Narciso Rodriguez, which I got in a swap with a friend. And the notes of this perfume are frangipani and ylang-ylang, musk, cashmeran, cedarwood, amber, and vanilla. Okay, so in an earlier video, I mentioned that when it comes to flankers, I kind of want there to be like a little bit of a familial resemblance between the flanker and the original. And I think the Narcisos are a great example of a brand that has done that pretty well. I think they all share a similar DNA that threads through all of the perfumes, and that is that signature Narciso musk accord. It is one of my favorite musk accords ever. There's something about it that just works for me, even though I think in other perfumes, musk overdoses can really like turn me off. But they must have some kind of captives that they use to create this musk DNA because I've never smelled any other musks like these musks. They're just so recognizable. And with the yellow florals, the amber, the vanilla, the ombre flanker of Narciso is just super buttery, super smooth, and it's got this really creamy feeling to it. It's one of those perfumes that would totally make a great signature scent. This one will go straight to my safe blind buy list, even though it's not a blind buy. I have sampled it, but it's because it's within that price point for me that makes it like an easy, no guilt purchase. Next, we have Staccato from Miller Harris's Stories line. I got this one as a freebie with a past purchase, and the notes in Staccato are cardamom, a CO2 extraction of cardamom, cinnamon leaf, clove, ginger and saffron, leather, honey, jasmine sambac, and rose, ambergris, benzoin siam, cade juniper, Chinese tune leaf, which I had to look up. The leaves of the tune tree are supposed to smell like green and maybe a little bit spicy. So I usually don't go for leather perfumes, but surprisingly, I like this one a lot. I think it was the gingery opening, the sweetness from the honey and the benzoin and the jasmine that sort of balanced out and softened up the leather for me. And also those like more aromatic notes of like the cade juniper and the tune leaf. And so that left the leather to feel really nice, really well worn and brushed, like a broken in, well oiled saddle. It didn't have like that new car smell or that leather jacket smell. This was like softer, warmer, a little more naturalistic. I'm not going to be adding this to my Keep Wearing It sample bowl because even though I did like it, it's not something I think I want to wear personally, but I did definitely appreciate this for what it is. So next I sampled Macanudo from Maison. This one was a gift from my friend Danielle, who sent me like a boatload of samples from her collection. I mean, it was so generous how many samples she sent me to try. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Danielle. And I was super excited about this one because I've been wanting to try Maison for a really long time. I love the idea behind the brand. Everything was sort of like equestrian inspired. And as someone who was hugely influenced by the fashion and the fragrance of Ralph Lauren in the 1980s, that kind of like prep equestrian style, Maison totally piqued my interest. So I wrote more about Macanudo in my perfume journal than any other sample I tried in February because I really loved this one. The notes in Macanudo are bergamot, grass, neroli, hay absolute, jonquil, soil, Haitian vetiver, and tonka bean. So what I got when I smelled this perfume was hazelnut, but not like gourmand hazelnut, more like fresh hazelnuts right off the tree. I originally thought that there might be fig in this because of the green creamy combination I got from this perfume, but now I'm thinking that it was probably more from the grass and the soil and the tonka bean that's present in this composition. Also, the hay and the jonquil kind of like confused me a little bit at first. I knew I was getting something golden from this perfume, but I couldn't put my finger on it until I looked at the notes. And then I also realized that the hay and the jonquil, mostly the hay though, I think, they were giving me just like this slightest bit of like scratchiness in the back of my throat, not in a bad way, but like in a purposeful way. It really did evoke that idea of like hay in the stalls and the jonquils in the meadow where the horses would be grazing. I love this kind of artistry in perfumes, and so Macanudo went straight into the Keep Wearing It bowl of samples. This is L'Eau des Immortels from Voyages, Imaginaires, which was part of a discovery set that I won in a giveaway. And the notes in this perfume are Immortal, labdanum, tonka bean, amyris, benzoin, bergamot, and vanilla. So this perfume is a good example of how you can be like in total love with a particular brand, but not every single perfume that they put out is going to work for you. Voyages Imaginaires is the brand by Annick Goutal's daughter Camille Goutal and the longtime Goutal perfumer Isabelle Doyen, and together they create all natural perfumes, and the quality of the materials that they use are really incredible. Their perfumes are truly works of art. And while I can appreciate the artistry of this perfume, I just personally didn't really care for it. There aren't any boozy notes in it, but this perfume felt kind of boozy to me. It's very dark, it's very brooding, and that just isn't to my personal taste. There was definitely something about this perfume that to me smelled like a mix of tar and caramel, which I think some people might actually like tremendously. But for me, this is going to go into the sample declutter bowl. And I closed out the month with Quetal from Plume Impression. So the notes in this perfume are apricot, pink pepper, Indian patchouli, sandalwood, iris, French jasmine, cedarwood, amber, and musk. And I could tell before I even spritzed this on that I was not going to like this perfume, unfortunately. Once I did spritz it, it just confirmed my predictions. This, to me, unfortunately, was a very sickly sweet patchouli, very much in the vein of Viandante from Profumo di Firenze, if you've smelled that, or like a sharper version of Erba Pura from Serge. I don't know, these kinds of perfumes just are not for me. So please don't be offended if this is like the kind of perfume you love. I mean, the thing about perfume is it's all subjective, right? There's plenty of perfumes that I slag off that probably smell like amazing on somebody else. And I promise I will not take it personally. If you don't like a perfume that I love, it would be like so boring if we all liked the same stuff, wouldn't it? So anyway, I only have one spray of this perfume left. So this one is going to go into what I call my perfume graveyard, my sample graveyard, which I will tell you a little bit more about that in an upcoming video that I have in the works, which is all about how I organize my samples. Yeah, unfortunately, K-Tal from Plume just didn't work for me. Maybe it'll work for somebody else, but I did not care for this perfume. So there we have it, all of the perfumes I sampled during the month of February. Maybe you discovered something that you want to check out. Maybe my impressions are the same as yours, or maybe you had a different impression of some of these perfumes if you've tried them or if you own them. Whatever the case is, I would love to hear about it from you. I'm always so interested in the different ways that people perceive scents. I always learn a lot from other perfume enthusiasts, even if we smell things differently. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you for chatting about perfume with me in the comments. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.